What have we done? I heard someone say once, and he may have said it more than once, that in our country today there is a wide and growing gap between the wealthiest 1%, indeed 1/10 of 1%, and all the rest of us. In fact, that gap is so big it is huge. And I think we can say that this crowd here this morning is huge. And I think we can also say that the desire and the passionate yearning for a change in our state and for us to elect as our next governor someone who is an authentic, real, true, hard, proud progressive is huge. I'm Bob Mullenkamp, and I am the chair of the Our Revolution Maryland Steering Committee. And on behalf of the steering committee and our members and supporters and our activists all over the state, we welcome you here to this beautiful room, in this beautiful civic center, in this beautiful city of Silver Spring, one of the great melting pots of America. Last August, Senator Sanders created Our Revolution to continue his work to build a movement and a rebellion to end corporate corruption of our democracy. And in November, we met and we created Our Revolution Maryland to continue that work. And we now have across this state, from Worcester County on the Atlantic coast to Garrett County near West Virginia, we have 47,000 supporters. We have 5,500 fiercely active activists, and I mean fierce. Are any of them in this room? In 6 chapters all over this state. And if you want to find out more, you want to join, volunteer, and donate, you can go to the website at ourrevolutionmaryland.com. With that, I am going to introduce our first speaker. I was asked to, I wrote up an even shorter introduction. Our first speaker needs very little introduction to this crowd. She is the former Ohio State Senator. And she is now the president of the National Our Revolution organization. And she asked me, though, if I could add something without blushing and say that black girl magic is real. Nina Turner.
Silver Spring! Man, I want to thank Bob so much. He did blush a little bit, but black girl magic is sure enough real. Man, oh my God, I am just ready to leap out of my skin. I want to thank Bob and Our Revolution Maryland and all of you who are here today who understand that this is a pivotal moment in our country's history. And this is not just about Ben Jealous, the man that Our Revolution National is proud to endorse, a servant leader like him. But this is not about him. This is really about all of us. This is really about you, the people in this room and the people who are not in this room. But to have the opportunity to give your time, talent, and treasure to a young man who has been committed to efforts of social justice and racial justice and economic justice all of his life. And you know his resume. But this is bigger than his resume. And you know, he's one of those types of leaders where you ain't got to make the stuff up just because he's running. His truth is with him every step of the way. He has been working the work. Ben Jealous is going to provide the type of leadership in this state that has been needed at the helm of the governorship for a long time. He understands that we cannot ever, ever, ever leave a sister or a brother behind. That we are strongest when we care about the least of these, our sisters and our brothers. That he will be unflinchingly progressive in his efforts. $15 an hour minimum wage sounds just about right. Making sure that in this state, serving as a symbol for other states in these United States of America, that no one has to die or go bankrupt because they don't have access to high quality health care, Medicare for all. And see, the beautiful thing about Ben Jealous is that this is not some political calculation for him just because the majority of Americans believe that health care in this country is inadequate and believe that single payer is the way to go. This is not a political calculation for him. This is what he believes. Now, sisters and brothers, he can't do this without us. So I know that we are here today. The choir is here today. We are here to uplift this man, push this man. But he is here to build the bridges, to go broader, to go deeper, to bring the mosaic of humanity together in this state and to show as a symbol, as a servant leader, that it can be done. You know, I've been channeling a little bit of President Nelson Mandela. I don't know why I can't shake him. And I tell my husband, nothing to worry about, but I can't shake President Nelson Mandela. But one of my favorite quotes by him is he said that it always seems impossible until it is done. Don't let anybody tell you that we cannot do this. And once Ben Jealous becomes the governor of this great state, he cannot do it alone. It always seems impossible until it is done. But you know what? We need the type of leaders who are willing to put something on the line for the people. We need the type of leaders who understand that once they are elected, it is not enough to just have fancy campaign slogans, but that when they actually get into the offices, that they do what they said that they were going to do on behalf of the people. Ben Jealous is that kind of leader. We also need leaders who believe in the tradition of Mother Jones that we should pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living. That is how he rolls. But more importantly, sisters and brothers, we need leaders who understand that the power of the offices that they hold, that power does not belong to them, but that power belongs to you. That is the kind of leader that Ben Jealous is. And furthermore, sisters and brothers, titles are really, really good. They get us in the room, they get our phone calls returned, they allow you to do some great work. But titles alone won't do it. I know a whole bunch of titled folks who are in rooms who forget why they are there and do not wield the people's power on behalf of the people. Titles are good, but purpose is better. And the beautiful thing about Benjamin Jealous is that he understands his purpose, that he understands what it means to be a servant leader, a servant leader, a servant leader, meaning that we answer to the people and not the other way around. This is a great day, Silver Springs. It always seems impossible until it is done. So now I want you to leave this room, as Bob said, that once we leave here, we hear some other great speakers, we get to Senator Bernie Sanders, we get to Benjamin Jealous. When you leave this room, though, you have to be committed to put this energy into action, because faith without works is dead. And in order for him to win this race, he needs you, and he needs you, and he needs you, and he needs you. It always seems impossible until it is done. We are going to do this thing, Maryland. We're going to do this thing, Maryland. And I want you to repeat after me. It always seems impossible until it is done. It will be done. It will be done. It will be done. God bless you, Maryland.
Nina is going to stay around afterwards and talk with you, pictures, whatever. We're going to go off program here for just a minute because we want to give you a sense of the growing movement in support of Ben's candidacy. I'd like to introduce the president of the very large Postal Workers Union for Maryland and D.C., Edwin Butler.
Thank you, everyone. I'm real happy to be following Nina. But I just want to say on behalf of the many postal workers in the state of Maryland, we know about service. We go to every house in the country, regardless of wealth, sex. Everybody's one, everybody's equal to us. And that's why we believe in what Mr. Jealous is doing. We all need to be there for each other, and that's what your post office does. Thank you.
And his union endorsed Ben. Keanu Smith Brown was one of the first students in this state who stepped forward early in 2016 and started the student movement in this state to support Bernie's candidacy. Keanu is now my colleague on the steering committee of OR Maryland, Keanu Smith Brown.
Welcome. This is our revolution. My name is Keanu Smith Brown, and I am one of the founding and steering committee members of Our Revolution Maryland. Before we get started, will you please take out your phones if you have them and text Ben. Come on, let's get our phones out. Let's get our phones.
Good, we were listening.
Barely anyone taking out their phone. Okay. Will you please text Ben to 6, so B-E-N, to 6-4, it's right up here on the screen, 6-4-3-3-6. 6-4-3. No, excuse me. Yeah, right, Trace? It's Trace. And then 6. Yes. A little bit of Spanish. Okay. Okay. I am a 21-year-old college student studying government and public policy at the University of Baltimore, where I also serve as vice president of the Student Government Association. Today, Our Revolution Maryland, after an intensive, strategic, and transparent process, is making its historic endorsement of Benjamin Jealous for governor of our prominent state of Maryland. My first interaction with Ben was working on the Bernie Sanders presidential campaign. He and I were both members of the campaign state steering committee, which he chaired. We also served together as elected Sanders delegates to the Democratic National Convention. Since meeting Ben, he has taken the time to mentor me, providing guidance and support. That love is empowering. Thank you, Ben. I have seen Ben in action. I have seen his tremendous leadership, work, commitment to justice, and his genuine concern and acknowledgement of the issues that we are fighting for. For instance, criminal justice reform, investment in education, not more unnecessary jails and incarceration. Making public colleges and universities tuition-free by closing Maryland's tax loopholes, which benefit the wealthiest. Establishing a statewide wage of $15 an hour. Making sure that workers' rights to unionize are strong. Healthcare. Using our healthcare dollars more effectively by passing a Medicare for all single-payer system. Environmental sustainability. Divesting from fossil fuels and investing in clean energy. Protecting every Marylander. Ben is committed to this platform. He will make the Maryland economy work for all of us, not just the wealthy. Ben is building a movement. We know this vision. This is the vision that millions of Marylanders support. This is the vision expanded from the Bernie Sanders campaign. Yes, he deserves a clap. Yes. I stood with the senator from Vermont, granting him my first electoral vote. Both were two of the best decisions I have ever made. Yes, it was. I am so honored. You have to hear this part. I am so honored to have the opportunity, my God, I'm blessed, to introduce one of my favorite persons in this world, the one and the only, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Oh. Thank you. It sounds like Maryland is ready for a political revolution. I am proud and delighted to be here with all of you this morning to strongly support one of the great progressive leaders, not only in the state of Maryland, but in the United States of America, the next governor of the state of Maryland, Ben Jealous. Now, I don't have to tell anybody here that these are, to say the least, unusual and unprecedented times for our country. We have a president who, by temperament, is unfit to hold that office. And whose policies are the most anti-working class in the modern history of America. This is a president who, at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, when the middle class in Maryland and in America is shrinking, this is a president who says, let's throw 23 million Americans off of health insurance in order to give huge tax breaks to billionaires. This is a president who brought forth a budget which says we're going to cut education, We're going to cut affordable housing. We're going to cut after-school programs. We're going to cut nutrition. We're going to make it harder for kids to get into college. But we're going to give $3 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1%. Now we need more than ever at the statewide level a very, very different kind of leadership. And what Ben Jealous is about, he has the radical idea that maybe, just maybe, government should represent all of the people and not just the 1%. As governor, Ben is going to stand with the working people of this great state, black and white and Latino and Asian American and Native American. He's going to stand with women. He's going to stand with the gay community. And he's going to do what the President of the United States does not do. And that is, he's going to bring people into government from all walks of life, not just billionaires. Ben knows a truth that we don't see too much on TV. And that is that there is an enormous amount of pain in this country. There are millions and millions of people who, as we speak right now, are hurting. And they're asking a very simple question. And that question is, does anybody know what my life is about? Does anybody know what I'm going through today? Does anybody know that I'm a single mom and I can't afford decent child care for my kid? Does anybody know what it's like to be working for 10, 11 bucks an hour, 50 or 60 hours a week, and you're going nowhere because you're spending 50% of your income in housing? Does anybody know what it is like to be addicted to heroin or to opioids and not be able to get the treatment you need to break that addiction? So Ben is running for governor of this great state because he has a very, very different vision. He understands that in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, when we stand together, we can do enormous things. He understands that people are not making it on 10, 11 bucks an hour, that we're going to raise the minimum wage in this state to a living wage, 15 bucks an hour. He understands that in the year 2017, it is unacceptable that women are making 80 cents on the dollar compared to men. And that we need pay equity, equal pay for equal work. And Ben understands that when our infrastructure is collapsing, we're going to rebuild our roads and our bridges and our water systems and create many, many jobs, decent paying jobs doing that. And Ben understands something that my Republican colleagues in the U.S. Senate do not understand today. And that is that in this great country, we have got to join the rest of the industrialized world, guarantee health care to all people as a right. And as governor of Maryland, Ben is going to work with me and others throughout this country for a Medicare for all single-payer program. And Ben understands that in a highly competitive global economy, we need the best educated workforce in the world, that it is insane that young people in Maryland or in Vermont are unable to afford to go to college or are leaving school deeply in debt. And that is why he is going to fight. That is why he is going to fight to make higher education in this state affordable for all and lower student debt. And Ben understands that in many ways this has been his life's work as the head of the NAACP. He understands that there is something profoundly wrong, that in our country we have more people in jail than any other country on earth. He understands that our criminal justice system is broken and that it needs major, major reform. He understands that instead of investing huge amounts of money in jails and incarceration, we've got to make those investments in jobs and education for our young people. And Ben understands, unlike President Trump, that climate change is not a hoax. And Ben will work with many of us to transform our energy system to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. Lastly, let me say this. What Ben's campaign is about is not just electing Ben as governor. Obviously, that's kind of why we're here today. But it is something deeper than that. Nina Turner made this point as well. Ben is not going to win unless many, many thousands of people in this state are engaged in the political process, including many who have never even voted in their lives. Now, TV ads are important and radio ads are important, but you know what is far, far more important? It is what all of you are going to do. And that is, you're going to go out knocking on doors, and you're going to talk to your neighbors and your coworkers. But not only does Ben need you to get elected, even more importantly, in order to be the great governor that I know that he can become, he is going to need the people of this state to work with him. He can't do it alone. When we talk about a political revolution, that is what we're talking about. We're not talking about one guy on top doing it all. It doesn't happen that way. The powers that be are too powerful. Big money interests are too powerful. The only way that change has ever come about and ever will come about is when ordinary people stand up and fight back, and that is what this campaign is about. Brothers and sisters, it is my honor to introduce to you the next governor of the great state of Maryland, Ben Jealous.
Well, good morning. Good morning, brothers and sisters. Here we go. We are gathered today on Trump's doorstep to let the world know we intend to get rid of his doormat. We are a great state with a great future, with great people, but our children will not be able to realize their full potential if we continue to tolerate this status quo. I stood out in this hallway last night and held a man as he wept because last week his girlfriend here in Montgomery County, one of the wealthiest counties in the wealthiest state, herself well-educated, died because of lack of access to health care. I've driven north of here into Montgomery Village to start my week a few weeks ago and met with a young Muslim American professional who had just buried 2 honors students who had been riddled with 20 bullets. Passed through work in Baltimore where the headline was at one high school 5 students had been buried. Ended up in a backyard in Talbot County. Young white girl coming home from middle school comes up to me and just wants to talk about the 3 classmates she's buried this year because they were addicted to opioids. But I get great hope when we're out there and we're listening to folks, and you can hear them start to hear us when we say we can pass solutions as big as the problems that we face. There was a time not long ago in this state when we did big things, when we came together, when the powers that be of both parties said, no, you will not be able to pass marriage equality and pass the DREAM Act and abolish the death penalty. Not in the same year, get in line. And that year, I led the effort to abolish the death penalty. And I co-chaired the successful effort to pass the DREAM Act. And the NAACP, under my leadership, put organizers on the ground in black communities across the state so that people understood why we needed to pass marriage equality. And we won every single battle that year. I've been an organizer my entire life. This room is full of organizers. We are not here, as Bernie said, we're not here simply to elect me governor. Bernie and I have been organizers since we were young. And the first thing that you're taught is that you do not elect politicians to make change happen. No, you elect politicians to make it a little easier for you to make change happen, for the people to make change happen, for our movements to make change happen. Let me be very clear. I'm asking you to help put me in the governor's office so it will be easier for us to govern. It'll be easier for our families to make change happen. It'll be easier for us to undo with good public policy what bad public policy has done. We have the opportunity in this state to make our universities tuition free, starting with our community colleges. If they ask you how we'll pay for it, tell them we will end mass incarceration. We have the opportunity in the state to make sure that we don't have any more neighbors burying loved ones because they didn't have access to health care. We can pass single payer. And if they ask you how we'll pay for it, tell them that we're tired of being 60% of farmers' profits when we're only 5% of the world's people. We can close corporate loopholes and make sure that the big box stores pay as much taxes as we do. And yes, that casino money that seems to have gone the way of the lottery money, well, we can make sure, and I say this as somebody who's got 2 children in the public schools, we can make sure that that casino money enhances our funding for public education. You know, folks say, Ben, are you running to the left? Are you running to the right? I say, I'm running towards the people. And let me be very clear. Hogan has a lot to worry about. The only way he got in is because there was low voter turnout. If there's one thing that this former president of the NAACP knows how to do very well, it's turn out voters. But Governor Hogan, I want you to be very clear. We're not just going to talk to Democrats. We're not just going to talk to independents. We're going to talk to everybody in this state. Every county, every city. And Larry, if I may call him that, I want to talk to you about a conversation I had with a Republican in Catonsville last week at the 4th of July. See, we got done talking about making sure that all of our kids would have a good teacher in every classroom, making sure that every Marylander would have access to health care, that we would close corporate loopholes, we would end mass incarceration. And this lifelong Republican looked at me and he said, you know, brother, you give me a lot to think about. You give me a lot to think about. He said, right now, all I can hear in my head is my favorite line of my favorite poet. I said, what's the favorite line, your favorite line of your favorite poet? He said, we have a lot more in common than we have uncommon. I said, you know, that sounds familiar. Who's your favorite poet? He said, Dr. Maya Angelou. So you know, you've got to look for the signs on the road, but when you got Republicans quoting Maya Angelou back to you, I think Larry Hogan has a reason to be worried. I don't know about you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have no shortage of solutions. What we have is a need for courage. For courage. And for organizers, and for a movement that, yes, wins a governorship and then stays in the streets and keeps the pressure on so that we have the power to get it done. So if you're talking to your friends and they say, where were you this morning? Just say, hey, I turned out to that Our Revolution meeting to listen to Nina and Bernie and Ben. Brother Keanu too, Bob as well. And we're building a movement on Trump's doorstep to get rid of Trump's doormat. Thank you and God bless.